We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
You are listening to The Underground Marketing Conspiracy, a secret ritual where entrepreneurs acquire highly classified and confidential business knowledge that the top 1% of income earners don't want you to know. And now, your host, Maddie Milligan.
What is going on, my fellow conspirator and conspirators? Welcome to The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo! Today I want to talk to you guys about retargeting ad campaigns. I think this is something that a lot of people aren't using. And I've talked with someone where they're like, oh, I never did any paid ads other than retargeting campaigns. I just did all sorts of organic traffic and used only retargeting to really build the majority of my business, right? And the majority of their stuff was like content marketing, where the person would find out about them and they'd have a call to action, send them to their site. Person wouldn't do anything on their site, and then later on they'd see retargeting ad campaigns that would bring them back. So I want to break down, first of all, the different kinds of ads, right? And how retargeting ads are different from your other ads. So the way I like to look at this is kind of like, let's say you're running Facebook ads, for example. Your first ad really needs to be that curiosity-based one, right? That has a good hook that gets people to gets people to click and actually end up on your website and web page. That's the first step. And those ads are kind of like cats, right? Cats, you've probably heard the expression, curiosity killed the cat. It needs to be something that stops someone dead in their tracks, right? A pattern interrupt, and gets them to actually stop what they're doing, click on the button, and actually visit your website. Your retargeting ads are more like dogs, right? They're kind of chasing people down, bringing them back to your website. I think someone called it like boomeranging at some point, where you're throwing them and they're coming right back to you. But they need to chase people down with different content and give them a reason to return to your website. I think this is why I love starting with organic traffic and then doing retargeting ad campaigns to start warming up audiences to sell them things before other paid campaigns. That's why I like doing that so much, because it just costs a lot less. And again, people have shown interest. They already probably know a little bit about you. It'll be that second or third touch point with them. It'll bring them back. And maybe you have an offer in one of those ads, so it entices them to just make that first transaction with you. But retargeting ad campaigns really just need to be something that starts bringing people back to your site again. So that's why I like to just, on that web page, even before I've done any traffic, start organic, but send people to the web page where I have all the tracking data, whether that's the Facebook tracking pixel, and just looking at data too with Google Analytics and maybe Wicked Reports and a couple of other tools, but really just pixeling them and getting them on my retargeting audience and then showing them ads later on, whether that's a few days later, a month, 2 months, whatever it is. Just starting getting them and building that audience, that retargeting audience, that's a really good tip. Now, strategies to bring people back, obviously you could use something like probably Google AdSense or Ad Choice, where it essentially just brings people back, right? Where they have this whole network of different websites like CNN and Entrepreneur and Forbes and Inc. and Chatelaine and Vanity Fair and CNN and Fox, where you can basically just show people your ads, right? You're paying them to put their ad in their network on one of those websites and bring people back. And that's how those websites usually make money, is they sell ad space to Google, and then you're the one paying Google, and then both of them make money, and then they send them back to you, and then hopefully you can get a profit by doing that. But I like retargeting campaigns where you're sharing a case study. Like maybe they see an example of something and you share the big idea with them. They're like, okay, that seems kind of interesting. Then one of your retargeting ads, and I've seen one dude do this a lot, where it's basically just sends you to this carousel of testimonials. So once you visit the site, you go back, and then maybe you're scrolling through Facebook and you see one of his retargeting ads, and it's like, hey, so-and-so used our product. Look, they left us a 5-star review. Oh, this guy too, this woman too, this guy too, her too, him too, her too. And you see so many where you're like, all right, like, let me check this out again. And then you educate yourself a little bit more. And then eventually you do make that transaction. And this comes, I think retargeting ad campaigns are effective because people generally will buy on touch point number 7 to 12. Like if they see your ad once, they're probably not going to buy. If they see your first ad and then a few different retargeting ones, maybe on attempt number 6 or 7, they finally get people to buy. And I think this is, again, where there's all sorts of new crazy things coming out with retargeting, like these animated retargeting things I've seen recently. I know of this because I once approved copy for a few companies where they were like, oh, we need, someone to just proofread the copy and make sure that this message works not only in English and French. And I'm like, all right, cool, let me read through this. And yeah, it was definitely very, very quick project that I did, but it really just allowed me to, and at first I was kind of like, whatever. But then once I saw the animations, I was like, whoa, like these are really cool. Okay, how did you guys make these? Oh, you used that. Oh, that's very interesting. And that's one good way, again, to have very pattern interrupting things. My only downside with some of those things when it shows those side ads is that so many people have just become banner blind, where they don't even see a lot of those ads on the top or the bottom of the screen because they're just so sick of seeing advertising, so they might not necessarily even see your thing. One campaign, though, I saw, was that they pixeled me, and then I started seeing other high authority websites with articles where their ads were articles to, like, I think one of them was The Sun, I think one of them was CNN, I think one was, what was it, The Insider, and it was basically, I think it was for this company, what's it called, Swannies, this guy James Swanwick, for these blue light glasses. So I visited his site, I saw it, and the next day I see an article where it's like, oh, here's how blue light is affecting people, here's how it affects your sleep. And again, it was on one of those high authority sites. It might have been like The Sun or Huffington Post, one of those, and I'm like, oh wow, it's an article on that site? Oh wow, it's one of those authority sites. And then I saw another ad from a different authority site, and then another ad. And there was a button always at the bottom where if you click on it, it returned you to the product page to check out. And I was like, wow, this is very interesting. And honestly, like, this campaign worked on me. I eventually invested in a pair of Swannies and I wear them a lot, and they're a great product. But to be honest, what I really got out of that campaign was, or when I bought that, was the marketing campaign behind it, being like, oh, how did they get me? Okay, so I went to their page, they pixeled me, then they showed me these other articles on these high authority sites. So that worked, again, because it gave it more credibility from a high authority site like Huffington Post. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And I saw so many of those, and then I saw a few reviews that they had in their retargeting campaigns, and I saw some people they had who were influencers in the entrepreneurial space. That's how that kind of worked on me. And I remember, like, after I bought them, being like, how did they sell me? Like, I'm usually pretty difficult to convince. And then I'm like, oh, that's how they did it. Okay. And for me, it was very interesting seeing how they did all that stuff. But I think retargeting campaigns, whenever people are like, oh, my Facebook ads didn't work, I'm like, okay, show me your ads account. I look in it, and it's like, all right, you didn't have any retargeting set up. Like, that's probably why it didn't work, because someone you hoped they would just visit your page, buy right away, but you didn't have that follow up with them. Like, you need to have multiple conversations with those people, and again, have those multiple touch points where you have those ads that are, again, coming back to them. The benefit too is, like, you don't even need to spend $1 yet on retargeting. Like, start doing that organic traffic, right? Start building that, having as I mentioned before, having all the tracking codes installed on your site, so that when you do start having visitors, you're building that retargeting audience. And then when you do create that retargeting campaign, it's going to be a lot more effective. And sure, people might not remember after 90 days or so, and it might be new to them, but they might vaguely remember, to be honest, within 30 or 60 days, or even 90 in some cases. And again, that's really what branding is, right? It's those multiple touch points with people where they're familiarizing themselves, figuring out more, seeing if they do have that problem, figuring out for themselves that they do have the problem, finding out why you're a better solution than all the other options that they've looked for. And then again, once you see those kind of things, it just eventually makes it a no-brainer. But there's all sorts of different platforms you can use for these things. I mean, I'd probably just get someone to design your banner ads. There's a site called $20 Banners where you can just get these things designed pretty quickly. But retargeting is super powerful, right? I've met a lot of people, again, where they only do retargeting. They have a YouTube channel. They just have their retargeting set up with, I think it's Ad Choice and a couple of the other more independent native ad things. I think they used Outbrain as well, and they just had that with the Facebook pixel and just only run retargeting things, and that does all the heavy lifting for them. And retargeting costs a lot less than running like traffic campaigns from Facebook and Google, right? It costs a lot less to just get people to visit you a second time. So I think that's why I like starting organic and then having all those sorts of things. But again, your first ad that you show people needs to be, if you do run paid ads, let's use Facebook for example, have that first campaign be a curiosity one where you're just trying to get people to click and end up on your page. And then have all of your retargeting campaigns be those dogs that are just going to chase people down over and over and over again and basically drag them back to your site to either just opt in or buy from you. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, I would consider subscribing because I do release an episode every single day at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all the major podcast stations, wherever you're listening to this to. Maybe you're listening on Spotify or iTunes. Consider leaving a review as well and giving me your feedback. If you have any questions, you can email undergroundmarketingconspiracy@gmail.com. My name is Matty Milligan. I will see you next time on another episode of The Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Ooh.